So I've been hearing a lot about passport brothers recently in videos, in podcasts, both in left-wing videos and right-wing videos. People are talking about it. People are pretty passionate about it. And I'm also pretty passionate about it too. So today I want to talk a little bit about what I think about it, if I think it's a good thing, if I think it's a bad thing, what it means for our society, and whether guys should be considering this type of lifestyle for themselves. So for the uninitiated, what are passport brothers? Well, passport bros is the idea of men going overseas or abroad to other cultures to meet women from different cultures. And if you talk to the men about why they're doing this, they'll often say things like it's because women over there have more traditional values, they are more respectful towards men, they are more inclined to want to stay home and help raise children. A lot of this kind of more traditional family-oriented thing. As well as that, they'll also start to usually point at Western women and say that Western women are crap and that they're like entitled, and they'll start to say a lot of they'll start to be quite nasty in their explanations of what Western women are like. Unsurprisingly, there's also a lot of Western women jumping up and saying those men who go overseas are they start saying they're nasty things, like they're pussies, they're not real men, they're not manly enough to handle a Western woman, they're going overseas just to take advantage of women in poor countries. These men should be ashamed of themselves. There's a lot of that kind of kickback that you get from the other side of the fence as well. So I want to start by confessing and saying that I myself generally don't date Western women. I'm not part of the passport bros culture. I don't travel to meet women, but still, nonetheless, last time I was in a relationship with a Western woman, I was in my teens. And it's not because I think I've had horrible experiences with Western women. It's not because they don't want to date me or anything like that. I just have my tastes, and I have had certain experiences with other cultures that for me feel like a better fit for who I am. So I first want to start, I'm going to talk about my experience of Western women, because I think some guys are going to agree with that, and then I want to talk about my experience with Western men, not dating them, but coaching them as a coach, because I think this is important. My experience with Western women has been this. First of all, they're very friendly. They're very, on the whole, to me, they've been very friendly. They've been very nice. But there's always an element, there's an element of their, what I'd call femininity, that doesn't feel like it's on point. And it's very hard to explain, because I wouldn't say that all Western women are masculine or feel masculine, but there's something to do with the way that they relate to their themselves as women, the way that they relate to their sexuality and express their sexuality. I can't quite put my finger on it, but doesn't feel as sexy to me, even though they are sexual and can look very attractive.
Hey guys, I just wanted to interject. I thought of something while I was editing this video. I've said Western women, and actually that's not the right term, because my experiences that I've outlined here really apply more to the English Western world. So places like, North America, Australia, the UK, New Zealand, places like this. I feel this stuff a lot more strongly than perhaps more countries that are still Western, like Spain or France or Portugal. Countries like these are different, and they're still technically Western. They are literally, not just technically, they really are Western countries still. And so I think that's a really important distinction to make. I think this is something that is a lot more in Anglo-Western countries than anywhere else.
I notice that they don't exhibit the same degree of respect for their partners. There's a very common thing in the Western world for women to be making fun of men in general, right? And they're constantly looking down on men. And I feel this as a cultural average. Again, it's not every Western woman, I'm not saying that. It's a cultural average that I feel. I feel that they don't want the same traditional thing. For better or worse yet, I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying they don't want the more traditional relationship style where the man looks after the woman in his way, financially, taking care of the typical man things, where a woman looks after the man the typical female way. They're not looking for that. They're looking for a much more complete equality, where everyone does half the housework, everyone does half the money earning, everyone does half the child rearing, everyone does half of everything. That's the kind of relationship style that I find a lot more Western women are looking for. And just as well as their values about family, like how they might view and treat my family members, how they treat their own family members, how they treat the elders in the family. There's a lot of this kind of family values and way of living stuff that is just different with Western women. It's not what I want. Now, I think the passport bros are probably hearing this, and a lot of guys are hearing this and saying, yeah, Damien, I agree. I am experiencing the same thing. They're not as respectful. They look down on men. We've got all this going. Okay. But Let me tell you my experience as a dating coach working with Western men, okay? Because at the same time, it's easy to look at women and go, women are broken, there's something wrong with women in the West. But a lot of the guys I work with have a very, very unhealthy relationship to their sexuality as well. They are scared of their own sexuality and their own sexual desires. They are very confused about their roles as men. So they come across as quite lukewarm in dating, like not like assertive or not caring, but they're kind of this weird lukewarm space that by itself doesn't seem particularly sexy. I feel that they are often, there is an entitlement that they have. I see a lot of men who think that they have a lot to offer, and they don't really have so much to offer because they don't really know how to take care of a woman well. They do not know how to take care of themselves. I see a lot of men in their 30s who, okay, they can make money, but they can't clean their house. They can't wash their clothes. They don't know how to cook for themselves. They can't take care of themselves emotionally, so they just have to go out, drink a lot, or do a lot of drugs to take care of themselves. And I know, okay, women do the same thing. But my point is just this. I don't think the average Western woman is worse somehow than the average Western man. This is the first point that I kind of want to get across. But I think we have a crisis in the Western world right now in dating. I think there's a disconnect, and men and women aren't happy with what's being produced. Now, if anyone, let's say a woman, has a cursory glance at the Passport Bros, and if I just bring up whatever videos get served up to me first, I see cocky, arrogant a-holes like going overseas to shag lots of chicks. And they use they use this idea of women more friendly with more family values, but that's not what I'm seeing being displayed in their behaviors and what they talk about and the cockiness that they exhibit. When I say cockiness, I'm kind of talking about the more chauvinistic kind of cockiness, talking about women more like conquests. I see a lot of that. And I know that's not all there is to the Passport Bros. What I'm saying is that's what I see if I just look it up. And so I don't think we should be surprised that women are looking at this and thinking they're a bunch of jerks. Fortunately, this is only a piece of what the Passport Bros is really all about, because I've also met a lot of really good guys, like decent guys who have got their lives together, who know what they want like from themselves, and they know what they want from a family, and they want to meet a woman who will look up to them and take care of them, and they in return want to take care of that woman and respect her and take care of her. There are good guys who want that, and they can't find that in the West. I don't find that easily in the West either, so I completely sympathize with those guys. And so I think it's important when we look at the whole Passport Bros thing to recognize that there is a difference, that some men are going overseas because they're not really showing up as men, because they haven't got their crap together, because they can't take care of themselves, and they want someone to take care of them, and their masculinity is kind of all over the shop. And if they go to some countries, women are going to be more accepting of that and put up with it because they're an opportunity. But at the same time, they're kind of rolling their eyes behind his back. I've seen this happen in especially around Southeast Asia, because a lot of guys who struggle with women with their own sexuality often end up in Southeast Asia. Again, it's not every guy who does. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's where they end up, because the cultures are more submissive, again, than say, like I go to like South American cultures more, but that's where they end up. And again, this is just, if you like that, this is more where you're likely to go. Not that every guy who goes there wants that. But my point is that there are a number of entitled guys jumping on the Passport Bros bandwagon, and they're heading for their own brand of trouble. Because women, just because a woman has traditional family values doesn't make you the god no matter what, right? So if you act a fool, if you don't have your stuff together, she's going to start to disrespect you and treat you like crap. It will happen over time. So there's no replacement for having that as a man. I think that's a really important point to make. And I think that's the point that when I've talked to women about Passport Bros and really talked about it in detail and had a proper conversation, that's what they bring up. Totally fine, so long as he's got his stuff together and wants to give her the respect she deserves for the work that she's going to put into him, right? With the respect and the looking after and helping him to build a family. Then it's fine. But a lot of guys aren't in that place, and they're still using the Passport Bros bandwagon. So yes, I think it's a completely legitimate thing when you are a guy who has his stuff together and that's what you want to do and you want to find the right kind of woman for you. I think that is really, really valid. But I think the fact that the whole Passport Bros thing exists is important, because it's highlighting the fact that men are not happy right now, right? And we have a situation where, yes, I don't think our society, Western society, is creating happy dating dynamics for men or women. But we do also have a situation where women, because feminism has existed for a long time, women have a voice to demand change that they want. And they've gone ahead and done that. And I think to some degree, it's gone too far. I think modern feminism has started to paint women into a corner. I think that one of the things that Passport Bros is good for is it's making women pay attention, because it's one of the first times that men are actually taking an action rather than just whinging about the situation, which unfortunately a lot of guys do. They just whinge. Instead, they're taking action and doing something about it and taking care of themselves. And that's why I think that this is actually a positive thing. But I think we also need to focus on changing the world that we're living in. And I know a lot of guys don't want to jump up and talk about their rights in the world because they're scared that they'll lose their job. They're scared that they'll get cancelled. They're scared of all these things, and they say, oh, it's just too hard, so I won't say anything. But you know what, guys? It was pretty friggin' hard for feminists in the 20s as well, in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s. Life was tough. Women were getting arrested, right? They were losing families. They were losing jobs. All the same things were happening, but they demanded a change. And they demanded it as a group for long enough that we had to pay attention. So if you want a change, don't just whinge about it. I think that's really what I'm coming to at the end here, is that Passport Brothers is a legitimate way of voting with your feet. But if another way to get real change is to actually start talking up. And I know some guys are talking up, but there's talking up and there's talking up. You know, if we just have Andrew Tates walking around, like kind of trying to shame women from a very chauvinistic angle, making women out to be the bad guy, you know, not very academically backgrounded, so really says a lot of junk science stuff that isn't rooted in reality at all. If you get that, and narcissistic to boot, if you get that and that's who's representing us as guys, the world shouldn't listen to us because we're picking horrible role models to speak for us. We have good guys out there. You know, I know Jordan Peterson at times is a little bit conservative, even for me. I'm not super conservative, but he's a bit too conservative for me. But at least he's an academic trying to say what he thinks would be good for men. You know, and then we have others who are less, who are really fantastic, like Richard Reeves, for example, right? He's got some amazing stuff out there and he's fighting a really good fight to help men, and he's not doing it at the expense of women. And I think if we have more men who are academically backgrounded, who are intelligent, and who are they're not just whinging and complaining and blaming it all on women, but just trying to make a better world for men, a more fair world, and speaking up and putting up a fight, that's what we need. If you want a change, if you want to change the world as it is, you got to start doing something about it, you know, and do it in a way that isn't just complaining and whinging about it. And that's why I don't mind Passport Brothers. That's why I think this is actually something that could be a start of a change, because women will have less men to choose from. So they're going to have to start changing how they behave or be alone. And I think that's a good thing, because I think that women have been doing that to men now for a while too. They've been refusing to date men on average who they don't want in their lives. So more men are single, more men are finding themselves without partners. And that's women voting with their feet. And I think men need to start doing the same thing. And if we do that, that's our only way to get back some of our dignity and respect and power in the relationship dynamic that's been created in the Western world. So I know there's been a little bit of a rant, but I think this is a damn important topic. And I think it's a topic that I'd like to discuss more. And I think it's a topic that I'd like to hear a lot from you guys about in the comments as well, because it's important. Like it's about men around the Western world, and we are all feeling it. I feel it when I'm dating that the world has changed. You guys are feeling it, and I'm trying to help and support the way that I can, and I'm being vocal about how I think the world needs to change. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys, in the comments below. As always, if you like this video, please subscribe. Most of you guys are watching my videos and not subscribed, so go ahead and subscribe. It helps me so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my future videos.